Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Suzanne with Monica and Jodi, and today we're going to talk about caregivers. And Jodi is a home health nurse and a hospice nurse, and she's going to share her expertise. Monica, give us just a brief overview.
Well, my husband, who's a quadriplegic, came home in January with 24-hour care, 8 hours a day as provided by nurses. And Jody, thank you for what you do because nurses really are the unsung heroes of all this. And then the rest of the time with aides. And as we've found, it's kind of a challenge to um, welcome someone into your home who's taking care of your loved one and keep clearly defined boundaries.
Yeah. So, what do you recommend? How do you set boundaries?
Well, first you have to look at it as it is a job.
Mhm,
You have somebody coming into your house, and so we want to be comfortable at home, but it's still a job. And so it still has to run like a workplace as far as expectations of timeliness and hygiene and, phone etiquette and that sort of stuff. I encourage families to make a list before their person comes out or before their caregivers come out because it can be weird. You go in for an 8 or 12 hour shift and like the person doesn't need hands-on care the whole time. So what are you
mhm,
supposed to do? So as the family, I say make a list of what you would like them to do, and that you know, the agency that provides your caregiver can tell you, do they do housework? Do they do cooking? What can they do?
mhm,
And you make out the list. So these are the duties for your shift. And then you can also specify, like, if he doesn't need hands-on care or like you don't have to be sitting right beside him, you can say, we want this much quiet time every hour or ever, whatever. Like you can make the schedule of care where they can have a place to sit. I saw one woman, her caregiver sat in the living room, like an offset living room, stayed in there the whole day, except for when the woman wanted to walk from her bedroom to the kitchen and when she needed to go to the bathroom.
mhm.
Otherwise, she didn't want to see her. So, having that communication about like where to sit, what to do when you're sitting, because too, it's awkward if you're on the job and you're like, okay, well, I don't have anything to do, but I don't want to look busy on my phone, or, I need to be busy around the house, but then I don't want to overstep their privacy, or it's complicated on both sides too, because you've got somebody in your house who's doing like very personal care. And so you want everyone to feel comfortable at the same time. You do need those boundaries. So I say start, it's okay to write out those expectations like you would if you were running a business and hiring an employee. Like, here's the job description for specifically in your home
Mhm.
and kind of how you would like that shift to go. If you have somebody overnight, you don't necessarily want them scrubbing the kitchen or doing laundry
Yeah.
um, or vacuuming, but maybe they could fold the towels if that's a task that's appropriate. Um, but two, in making that schedule, making sure you do put in um, quiet time or alone time just to
Mhm.
make sure we have that space because again when you're in the home you want to feel like you're busy and doing your job but at the same time you don't always have something to do the whole time. you know
Yeah.
so letting them know it's okay to sit at the kitchen table, it's okay to sit in this room, or we would like to have just check on him every 2 hours or whatever the case may be for you and your husband, just to make sure that you build that time into the schedule, but that you let them know too. And it is hard when you're around somebody, you sit with them 8, 10, 12 hours a day, and You
Mhm.
know, you want to talk about things. And so even something like having conversation cards like you might have with your children at supper, like things that you can talk about. Like it's okay to have
Oh.
something like that. And it's also okay to have a set of rules that are off limit topics. You know, hey, we're glad you're here, but we just don't want to hear about your marriage or your personal problems or your, you know, it's okay to say these are the boundaries, not just for her, but for all caregivers that come in your home.
Mhm.
And it's sad that we have to say that because that should be known. But I know how easy it is when you are, you know, sitting on the couch with somebody for hours on end and, you know, talking about holidays or what are you doing this weekend or kind of whatever that small talk is. It's very easy to slide right into, um, oh, we're more friends than we are employee and employer.
Yeah.
So, and that can be awkward for you because you know, you want everybody to be comfortable, you want him to be taken care of, but you are technically the employer here.
Mhm.
And at the same time, you know that if you upset the caregivers, if you don't have the caregivers, then you know the strain that that causes if they don't show up. Um, but concerns about timeliness, that should be, you know, pretty standard. And that's a conversation to have with a caregiver if they're constantly showing up late. It's also a conversation to have with the agency, and agencies will sometimes brush things off or, you know, under the
Mhm.
rug because they're like, oh, well, this person, like, she's always late, but she still shows up and she does a good job and she likes them. So we'll just, you know, tell them we're looking for somebody else, but we're, you know, it's not a priority to find somebody else. So it's okay for you too to stand your ground to the agency and say, this is not acceptable and this is what we need,
Mhm.
because they also work for you. Like ultimately, you and your husband are the employers and
Okay.
you hire the agency and, you know, indirectly hire the caregivers as well. So it's
Oh.
okay for you to speak up and say, this is not right. And speaking with the agency, with the caregiver, as well as having, you know, whether it's in a notebook or posted rules in the house. Some families will make a notebook that, like, you know, here's our favorite music channels or our favorite TV channels, just kind of like the get to know you stuff
Mhm.
or like things that you can do when you're not taking care of him, you know, like go sit on the patio or, you know, something like that. Or make sure you take your break, make sure you have your lunch break. Don't eat in here, or here's where you can eat, or you can use the microwave, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, Kind of like a, you know, a Airbnb hostess book or something that's like
Yeah.
orientation to the house that includes those rules and those expectations. But certainly that communication has to be ongoing because then you get stuck in this where they're not showing up on time and they're getting a little too comfortable.
Mhm.
And when you get too comfortable, then the care suffers. And um, so all of those things kind of go into making sure that you stay in control of the household, the business of
Yeah.
caregiving, I suppose. Ultimately, you're in control of that.
I wish I would have talked to you before he even came home because we had no idea what we were in for. Like we had no idea what home health aides did, or like
Right,
we saw what they did at the nursing home he was at, but you know, at home we it was like they just pushed us out and said good luck.
right,
And so everything we've like you have some great ideas that I want to implement because everything we've done so far has been kind of like us going through it blindly.
right, right. And I mean, it's awkward. Like you have somebody there, for example, if I need help going to the bathroom
Hmm.
and taking a shower, and maybe I'm a fall risk. So I have a caregiver. Well, they're sitting there waiting for me to need to go to the bathroom or, you know, something. So I'm sitting there and they're watching me and they're sitting there, you know, I'm watching them and they're watching me and it's just really awkward.
Yeah.
So, um, that's why it's so easy to blur those lines because you want them to feel comfortable and you want
Hmm.
them to feel connected. But at the same time, then we forget, like, oh, yeah, there's a job to do here. And when you mention the discharge, there's a huge gap in discharge. And they'll say, oh, we work with you, we make sure you have everything lined up and this and that. And that's not necessarily the case because you may
Hmm.
be discharged and they're going to have home health come in, but home health has, so many days before they have to make a visit.
Yeah.
And then they come in, they do their assessment, and then they have to write it up and go through insurance. And so it can be, a week or two that you're on your own, maybe, um,
Yeah, it
without
was.
without knowing what to do. And so I tell people a lot of times to check on YouTube. There are videos for caring for a bedbound patient or how to transfer someone, um, how to reposition someone, how to change the sheets when somebody's in the bed.
Hmm.
And there are some made by families at home, or there are some made by, students of physical therapy or nursing students or whatnot, like all kinds of videos. Um, because you're just kind of, hey, see you later, have a great day, here's your water bottle, take
Hmm.
care. And there is that gap and that follow up, which then you're already behind when you do have that help coming in and you don't know, what to ask or how to set it up. And again, then everybody's just awkwardly staring at one another.
That's for sure.
That's great. I, you know, uh, Jody, I don't know if I've told you, but I met Monica. We were in a writing group together, and it was a small group. There were only six of us, and we're both complaining or commiserating, uh,
Commiserating.
not complaining, commiserating about what we were doing with our husbands. And it was not until we finished and Barry got home that we decided we needed to come together and we really needed to do something.
Right.
Mhm.
Um, and so uh, I wish I had thought earlier to say, I know who you should talk to.
Well, one other challenge that you didn't mention, Monica, is sometimes caregivers will overstep. They will feel like they know better.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been a caregiver for 5, 10, 20 years. I know what he needs. And that's not their place. And I've actually had some very contentious situations with families where the caregivers were the problem, and saying, this is what he needs. And I know this is what your nurse is saying, but this is what you should actually be doing. Or, maybe you go to the doctor and you're like, oh, they want us to take this medicine. And it's the caregiver that is not a medical professional, is not a nurse, is not a doctor,
Hmm.
doesn't specialize in, the neurology or whatever it is. And they're going to say, hey, no, you shouldn't do that. I know somebody who took that medicine and it was terrible. And, um, things like that are just kind of butting in. And so that's where, even from the very beginning, to say, we're glad you're here. Um, we appreciate the work you're doing. Please refrain from medical advice.
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes people need a reminder of that, and you can just, set the binder out. And, you know, it's okay for you to have your own in services with your caregivers and just, hey, if you don't mind, make sure you take a look at the binder tonight, see what's going on, and kind of nudge them that way to be like, just,
Yeah.
mind your manners and thank you, but we don't need I mean, I'm sure you have enough advice, right? From
Hmm.
friends, family, online, support groups, anything like that. Everybody's got an opinion and has advice. And the
Yeah.
last place you need that is in your home. If it's online, you can turn it off. But when you
Yes.
have a caregiver that's like, I'm here doing this and you're doing it all wrong, that can be really frustrating. So that's another challenge that comes with in-home caregivers.
This
Okay.
is all great.
It is great.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jody.
You're
Thank
welcome.
you.
Okay, I will sign off the recording and we will be back with you later.